Premise one, civilization is not and can never be sustainable. This is especially true for industrial civilization.
Civilization is a type of culture fueled by the perpetual exploitation of peoples and lands in a futile addiction to an unsustainable lifestyle.
Civilization is a culture that's defined by militarism, by expansion, by conquest.
Civilization comes from the root civitatis, which means state or city. A city I've defined as people living in numbers large enough to require the importation of resources. What that means is that the Tolowa, on whose land I now live, weren't civilized because they weren't living in cities. They didn't require the importation of resources. They lived on what the land was able to supply, and they were living here for at least 10,500 years.
So civilization can only exist because of agriculture. That's what comes first. What agriculture is, I mean, just really bluntly, you take a piece of land, you clear every living thing off it, and I mean down to the bacteria, and then you just plant it for humans. It's mass extinction, and right now we are losing 200 species every single day. So all the prairies, all the forests, any place that you could grow those crops has been taken over, and it's quite grim when you think about it. 99% of the forests are gone, and 99% of the original prairies are gone. They have been cleared away. Another problem is that every time you do this, you're destroying the soil. Soil is alive. 1 tablespoon of soil can contain over 1 billion living creatures. It is the most dense habitat on the planet, and we've blown through it all.
If you exploit your surroundings, you will deplete them and die. The only way to survive in the long run is to give back more than you take. A defining feature of civilization is its reliance on the taking of these resources from the surrounding countryside, meaning first, that no city has ever been or ever will be sustainable on its own, and second, that in order to continue the ceaseless expansion of cities, there must be ceaseless expansion of areas that are hyper-exploited.
There's the place that's extracted from the people that are enslaved, the species driven to extinction and then brought to the city, turned into money and waste products. It's hard to find a city that isn't a labor camp, that isn't a producer of barren landscapes.
Cities are concrete and glass and metal and electric lights, and they're the most disconnected, devoid of anything life-giving that I've come across.
The land base can't support the people who live there. There can't be enough resources, so it inevitably leads to genocide and violence and imperialism.
The horrors are never ending, really. We are in the midst of causing the 6th mass extinction, and species are dying at a rate at which there's no previous historical account for.
There's so little left of intact natural communities. I think it would be difficult for a lot of people within civilization to even fathom how plentiful the world really was and really should be.
The first explorers of San Francisco said that it looked like the bay was paved with sea lions. There were so many whales off the coast of New England that it was pretty much perpetually foggy with their breath. The schools of cod were so thick, they would literally slow down the ships that tried to sail through them. There were flocks of passenger pigeons that would darken the sky for days at a time.
Since the dawn of civilization, humanity has caused the loss of 80% of wild mammals and 50% of plants. 90% of large fish, 50% of coral reef, and 40% of plankton have been wiped out. Of all the mammals now on Earth, 96% are livestock and humans. Only 4% are wild mammals.
It's a zero-sum game. What we have because we took it from someone else.
Some people might say, well, one day we'll make sustainable cities. We won't. You can't make sustainable cities. It's impossible.
As individuals, we don't really have the right to say no in this system. Whether you live in a democracy or an authoritarian regime, you don't vote on civilization, you don't vote on industrialization. That's not up for debate in this society. And that's what we need to change. We need to get to the root of these problems.
Civilization is definitely not the only way to live. Are we addicted to it? Yes, we've been raised addicted, but we can come clean and we can fight to force the rest of the human race, and particularly those in power, to do so too. We need to ask questions like, what does nature want? What does the depths of our soul want? What does the wild animal of our heart and body really want? And envision a life for ourselves and for future generations based on that.